on Facebook. Okay,
Yes.
we
It's
did.
exciting.
So we're just full of chaos and lies today. So we had posted that we're going over run versus own. We are not. We are going over forecasting because this market is literally changing on a weekly basis, but things are starting to change and hopefully be a little bit more consistent. So I'm about to backfeed into myself because my Zoom is going. Okay, Megan's not here. Megan keeps all the pieces together. So if this totally tanks, that's why. So I am trying to monitor any chats. So if you have any questions, go ahead and comment. We're going to be going into forecasting. Like I had mentioned, things are changing a little bit. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to go ahead and shift gears so Brian can go ahead and share his screen. And as an introduction, my name's Tunisia. I'm with Brick by Brick Real Estate. We've got Brian here with Security National. We are going to jump right into things. Brian,
Okay.
you are now our host.
Okay, so we talked, you mentioned briefly the number situation. What is different? We're June 2nd today, right? Yeah, June 2nd?
Yes.
Yeah. So May is over, thank
Yes.
goodness. What is different today in real estate land as far as properties that it was a few months ago?
So it's funny because like statistically, as far as listings go, not much has changed. We've been right around about 2000. Like right now, this moment in time, we have 2,426 listings that are active in the entire state of Utah. And that's been pretty consistent. But what has changed is days on market. Things are starting to slow down a little bit. And so we've kind of gone through this roller coaster, and I can jump into kind of our experience and what we've noticed that I feel like would contribute towards this slow. It's not, let me like preface this, it's not bursting. We're not about to nosedive down. It's just kind of like tapering a little bit. What are your thoughts, Brian? What
Forecasting is interesting. We're talking about if I buy a house today, what's it going to be worth 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? It's very difficult, of course, to do that. But what I get a question like this almost every other day, which is, when's this bubble going to burst? Right? You see all these multiple offers on a home, people paying over appraised value in some cases, and I've been doing this a long time. I lived through the 2008 bubble. That was a bubble, right? The .com bubble, that was a bubble when it just burst and it all came tumbling down. Well, there's some interesting statistics you might want to that kind of point toward this real estate market not being a bubble. Not that it won't, it can't stay like this forever, just doing this, in values. One of the interesting stats I heard this morning actually is that if you look at the percentage of homes nationwide that were paid for by cash versus mortgage, last year it was 16% of all homes were paid cash. This year it's up to over 20, a little over 25%. So that is a non-bubble statistic, right? The other thing is if you compare this to 2008, which a lot of people have been, especially on these news channels and things like that, they're talking about these bubbles. And well, the difference this time is that we have the people who are buying homes are uber super qualified. Mm-hmm. So in 2008, we had these liar loans and these no doc loans and all this low down payments. Well, now it's just the opposite. So I think we're not bubbly at all. So the question is then, if I share my screen, will this work? That's my question. Share screen. Yes. 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 Are we there?
Yeah, we're there.
Yes. Okay. So let's just talk about it. Let's take it down to ground level and say, all right, what would happen? Let's kind of peek into the future a little bit. So what we use this tool here I've used for a long time, and the people behind it keep a lot of the current data, sales data. A lot of sales data goes into this, and so they try to do their best that they can to forecast a reasonable appreciation or depreciation of home prices. So right now, let's just take it down to one home. So if you to buy a house, let's say you bought a house today for $500,000, and you put a down payment of 5%, and your closing costs would be, and again, I'm rounding off here, about $4,000 in closing costs. Let's say that's your loan costs, your appraisal, lender fees, title fees, things like that. So what we do is we want to forecast this, and the question is, what's a reasonable appreciation? In other words, what's a reasonable amount that your home price would increase in value? And right now we're saying it's the Salt Lake metro area, Salt Lake County-ish, is about 4.45% is our forecast at the moment. This will change a little bit, but it's been pretty steady. Individual neighborhoods, individual homes will do different things, but overall we feel that's a pretty conservative, safe estimate. So the two things we want to look at is what obviously comes to everybody's mind, which is, okay, if I buy this house for $500,000, what will it be worth 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years? So I took this out 5 years. So if it appreciates at the 4.45%, and we've seen, Tanisha, a lot higher than that lately, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy numbers, which will, yeah. So let's just keep it safe here. So the appreciation after 5 years, you can see that you go up to 500,000 at the start of this. A year from now, you're going to be it's going to go up that 4%, which gets you up to about 534,000. The number on the bottom takes into account that you put some money down, is what the difference there. But you can see how the values go up to 534, 555, and 574, and so forth, right? So it goes up and up in value. Well, the interesting thing is that's not all that matters, because we have to take, when you really want to look at your own household expenses, your own household budget, what we have to consider is how much cash did you actually put into this home? Well, if you put 5% down, 5% of 500,000 is, 25,000, right? I'm sorry, 50,000. Yeah, 25,000. My math got off. So $25,000. Well, if your home appreciates, we also want to take into account, of course, closing costs. I mean, you remember you spent $4,000 on it. So when you start out at closing, when you buy your house, you spent your down payment plus you spent your closing costs. Your return is a negative $4,000, right? You start out in the hole, but then you go up from there. And so as your value increases, so here's the trick: that 534, is that 534,832? This simply just subtracts out the cost of that 30,000 right there. So 534 minus 4 minus your original investment is the 30,000. So you can see how your original investment net after subtracting out your closing costs also increases. So that's what your 5% is doing for you. So if you put in $25,000 the first year, after at the start, after 1 year, you've turned that $25,000 down payment into $30,000. Makes sense? And you, of course, as you go out, take that out year after year, it increases. Yeah. But what's the real interesting thing about appreciation and leverage, which is what we're doing? You're buying a $500,000 home and putting down 5%. So you're that 25,000 you're putting down, you're actually leveraging that, because you're appreciating based on your $500,000 home, right? The 4%. We think it's going to go up about 4.45%. But what does that do to your what?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So here's the return on investment. If you're going to invest money in the stock market or in your favorite cryptocurrency or something like that, this is what your money you put in and what your return is. Well, in this case, your return is actually huge. So if you put in $25,000 investment and you go and you increase it by these numbers here, if your 25 goes to 30 and 49,000 and all that, then your net return after you spent the $4,000, remember that's a cost. Yep. Your net return is going to be 67% the first year on the cash, your cash on cash return. So it's like putting $25,000 in an investment. You lose $4,000 initially. So you're down to 21, and then it goes back and you have a 67% net return on everything.
No, I think this is awesome. I think that if you look at any history, there's no argument that real estate in general is always climbing. Yes, it has dips, but in general, everything's climbing. what's nuts is we're looking at a 5-year spread. We have literally done exactly this over the past 6 months. Like if you
Yeah.
look at the 6-month increments, so if you scroll up a little bit, so we can see that top graph from 0 to 5. So right now, the beginning of the year, our homes were selling close to the 500 mark. And now we have homes listing in the 700s, the 600s. So this entire 5-year spread has happened within 1 calendar year. And I feel like it's put a lot of people on edge of, what do I do? Do I buy? Do I sell? What's going to happen next year? Because if you look at this graph legend on the left, historically, we're at a 4.15%, right? For the overall increase. We've obliterated that through this past year. This has just been unprecedented change, correct? So with this, it's kind of like, okay, well, how do I make decisions on this type of market? And I had mentioned when we first started that things were starting to slow down a little bit. And what I mean by that is become a little bit more predictable. So what I feel like has happened is, we first started off the year, we have started off, with 2,000 homes. We usually have 10,000 homes. So we had a fifth of the inventory, which started this frenzy, right? And so now everyone's just bidding. We have bidding wars. Things have gone crazy. So for a good 3-month spread, it was just chaos as far as, you put in an offer, you hope it's good, you're putting in multiple, you're just trying to get under contract. And so what I think happened during that 3-month period is people now started projecting ahead of what that was going to be, in the sense of, okay, if people are listing at 30 grand over appraisal value, let's just start there. So I feel like homeowners took an aggressive step and overstepped, because now I'm seeing a lot of price reductions. I'm seeing a lot of relisting of homes after they've done multiple price reductions. I've seen days on market skyrocketing. And so I feel like we're kind of adjusting to where this mad chaos of offering and going above, we jumped ahead of that to where now we're kind of sloping back down to it. So I don't think it's necessarily the market's crashing, the market's going down. I think we'll continue to climb, but I feel like that rate is becoming more predictable. It's slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
What do you have to add to that on like the mortgage side? Because I feel like on ours, we still have the same amount of listings. That has not changed. I don't know if first-time home buyers or this buying market is getting burnt out, because we literally went to hell and back for the past 3 months. Because now I'm like, over the past 2 weeks, I have gotten 80% of my clients under contract. And we have been fighting tooth and nail for the past 6 months, And so
and it seems, by the way, Denise, that has changed in the last few weeks, right?
No, absolutely.
All of a sudden, and I've had the same with some of my clients as well. And I've had a lot of clients who had given up in February. Like, forget it, this is crazy. And then we encourage them, let's just take one more round. And they're actually getting offers in. I had one the other day. In fact, they called the listing agent, and she said, "You're the first one." Like, really? It's been on the market for 3 whole days. What? How can this be? Yeah. And they got the house. And so, it seems to be just getting hopefully a little bit more closer to normal, because this multiple offer, paying over appraisal stuff is not normal.
No, like, no exaggeration. 2 or 3 months ago, we had to submit offers without even seeing the homes. And we did offers with earnest money going hard upon acceptance, waiving due diligence, waiving appraisal, because that's what we needed to do in order to be aggressive in the market. And we still weren't the most aggressive offer on the table. And I feel like the reason why that frenzy happened is because as a buyer, we had 24 hours or 15 hours, 12 hours to be able to make an offer before they were accepting a contract. So there wasn't time to go and see it. Now, I had a client message me this morning saying, "Hey, can we see this home?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go see it." And before, I feel like it was like, you'd look at 5 or 10 houses, you would pick one, and then you'd submit an offer, you'd go under contract. And now I feel like we're transitioning to where we can actually look at homes. I feel like agents are taking a step back and not playing into the market. They're allowing for more time, which I feel like helps gain control of things. It's not feeding the fire. I felt like during that fire frenzy, people were putting together offers that they weren't actually comfortable with. And so keeping it under contract could be difficult because their terms were too aggressive. So I feel like in general, I've heard a lot of people looking to cash out, right? We talked about last month how we had people who are cashing out and selling. Now that we're kind of getting into more stability, you know, where things are still going to climb, I feel like it gives people a second breath to be able to say, okay, let's try again, let's start buying, or let's go ahead and list now that we know where things are at and things of that nature.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. That's good. And don't forget, like I said, if you've given up, if you've thrown in the towel in February or something, or the last few months, I think you got to take a fresh look at it. You know, June. I've had a few agents tell me that June is kind of their slow month, historically speaking. And maybe I don't know if this year is going to be the same, but if it feels slower to us, that's good news for everybody, right? So
well, I feel like it may slow down, but historically, I feel like we've had too many buyers. We haven't been able to get those buyers under contract. Right now, we're catching a break and actually getting those numbers under contract. So I wouldn't be surprised if those numbers are actually higher now than historically. We're still in a housing deficit, so there's more demand, but I feel like people are actually able to start getting traction right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as on the mortgage end of it, interest rates are still really good. They were heading up with inflation. Inflation is the arch enemy of interest rates. So as inflation increases, rates increase as well. And so there've been a lot of efforts at the national level to keep the inflation numbers down. Now you can argue if that's accurate or not, but those official inflation numbers are one of the main drivers of interest rates. And so we've had kind of a reprieve lately, actually. I mean, rates are still great. They're really low, really low. And there's some great first-time homebuyer programs out there as well. We do them all the time. And so there's some good opportunities out there.
Definitely. I
feel the playing field is a lot more fair than it was.
Absolutely. With those who are looking to sell and have kind of held on to things, I feel like I've heard a lot of people saying like, I'm going to wait for this to peak and then I'm going to cash out. Things are going to, in my opinion, are going to continue to trickle up, but I feel like the strategy of selling is really important. I've seen a lot of people, like I said, over anticipating that climb and going too high, and they're losing, 70% of their potential market because they're overpriced. So just kind of knowing where you're at, how you're trending is really important. Like I said, we've lived this full 5-year spread in the past 6 to 8 months. So, if you're interested in where you're at right now with your specific home or with your needs of getting a home, like contact us. Our number here with Brick by Brick, you can text it or call it. We're 385-352-3892. Brian's here as well to be able to crunch numbers. So I'm really interested to see how the next 3 to 6 months play out. But I will say, we're still climbing up. Things are getting a little bit more stable. There's a little bit more time. So if you tapped out, tap back in and we'll kind of go over what your exact situation looks like.
Awesome.
Brian, do you have any other words of wisdom? Anything else for us?
I think you covered it, but like I said, it doesn't cost anything to take a look at it. Like I said, you'll be surprised how these subtle numbers, as you're going from under 2,000 homes on the market to a little bit over 2,000 homes on the market, how big of a difference that can make, actually.
Yeah.
So, and getting while rates are good. I mean, these inflation numbers can't stay down forever. They just can't. And so, you see what things cost around you, but yeah, it's just crazy. Everything's up except not officially, So as long as this inflation number stays down, we'll be okay. But we do see rates going up.
Yeah, I feel like I posted a little while ago that we are now number 1 for the top 10 fastest growing states. We're at 18.4%. Idaho's close behind at 17.3. So Utah's a great place to be. Our retention rate also is higher than it's normally been. So a lot of people aren't leaving Utah. So in general, we're growing. I feel like the market's supporting it. we're getting a little bit more stability as far as what to expect to forecast. If you take this and maybe, squish it, okay, over the next 3 years or whatever time, because we are at a higher rate for increase, but I'm excited to see what the future brings, and I hope that those watching want to join, and we're excited to have you.
Very good.
Okay, awesome. Just to jump into next month, now that we have everything inside out and backwards. So next month we're going to be going into affordability, and then we'll go ahead and catch back into rent versus own. So we're a little bit out of order, but we're excited to see you next time, and let us know if you have any questions.
All right.
Okay, all right, we'll see ya.
Thanks. I never know if I'm off. You gotta shut it down.